4 people in America lose their lives to violence. That's according to the Secret Service. This week has certainly been no exception. But now, for the first time ever, the Secret Service is releasing a long-term comprehensive report on some of these violent attacks in the hopes of preventing future ones. NBC's Julia Ainsley joins us now with more on this. So first of all, Julia, what more can you tell us about the magnitude of this report and what it really means and says about the country as a whole?
Well, let me first tell you about the timeline of this report. This was done by the National Threat Assessment Center at the Secret Service. That was an organization that started for the Secret Service to be able to determine the threat of a certain area if a protectee, like a president, was going into. But now they're sharing this research widely, and this focuses on 2016 to 2020. So a lot of the more radical ideologies that we're talking about now, the more recent shootings, aren't included. But they do talk about 173 mass attacks. That would be any attack with any weapon that injured 3 or more people in a public space, including schools, places of worship, etc. And what they found are some disturbing trends. They found actually the lead motivator was personal grievances, but that also 1/4 of the perpetrators did have a belief in conspiracy theories or hateful ideologies. Remember, this span would have included the El Paso shooting and Walmart that we know was targeted at the Latino community there. It also would have included the Tree of Life shootings in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that targeted the Jewish community. And of course, we've seen other similar incidents since then, thinking about the Tops grocery store in Buffalo targeting African Americans. And just this week, of course, we've seen a lot of violence in the Asian American community. There are a lot of lessons that we can pull from this report as they try to educate community members on signs that they can look for. In 1/3 of the cases, the perpetrators had clear signs of evidence that they were planning these attacks, but they simply went unnoticed.
Yeah, I want to ask you more about that, Julia. I mean, it is a sad coincidence that we've seen so much violence on the week this report's being released. So what is it that they hope we can learn from it?
Well, it's interesting. There's still sometimes you want more takeaways. You want the if this, then that, Joe. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work this way. But there are some trends. And they did look at weapons. In fact, they saw that in 80% of the casualties, 80% of the attacks that used a firearm, those attacks did leave someone killed, whereas attacks that did not use a firearm, which were obviously far fewer if they were using a knife or some other kind of weapon, the chance that anyone died was actually less than 50%. It shows how deadly and how frequent firearms are used, and that in 1/3 of the attacks using firearms, they've used a semi-automatic or automatic weapons. And so this is really a chance to look at the breadth of the epidemic of violence in America, to see how communities could try to stretch resources. They use social workers, mental health workers, law enforcement. Everyone came to the table to look at these 173 incidents, Joe.
And Julia, I mean, you spoke with an official from the Secret Service yesterday about the role the community can play in preventing an attack. Let's listen to that.
But what we really want people to focus on, not a specific trait or a specific profile of the type of person that would carry out this attack, because there isn't one. What we want people and communities to focus on are the behaviors that they're exhibiting that may suggest that they pose a risk of violence.
So, Julia, what are the potential behaviors or motives that people might want to flag if they see them?
That was Dr. Lena Alathari, and she leads the National Threat Assessment Center at the Secret Service. And yes, she said that, it's not necessarily one thing, but to focus on if someone starts using language that might suggest either a specific attack. She also gave examples that someone might say something on the way out the door where, I'm going to eliminate these people, or I'm going to be famous later and you'll see why. I mean, she just sort of gave triggering words that people have used in the past. She also showed examples of a list of things to do. People were basically planning their last days, even people who planned to kill themselves at the end of these attacks. As she's saying, it's not any one thing, but it's something for communities to be aware of, especially as people start to pull away. You just heard Ken Delanian talk about the perpetrator of the shooting, the mass shooting in Monterey Park, someone who was really seen as a loner in society. It's not that all loners are going to perpetrate attacks, but just to be mindful of people in your communities, in your workplaces, in your schools, who may be starting to pull away and exhibiting signs of violence. She's just trying to raise the public's awareness. And today she's conducting a webinar just to show you how interested people are in this topic right now. She already has 21,000 people across the country, whether they be law enforcement officials or people working in schools or just members of the public who are interested in this research and are tuning in.
All right, Julia Ainsley, such an important conversation and an important report, especially in the wake of this week's tragedies. Thank you so much, Julia.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.